Hello, folks. How's it going? Let me know if you can hear me all right out there. New song for all of you who've complained endlessly about the royalty-free music. That was Eleanor Goldfield and the Rooftop Revolutionaries. If you want a real treat after this live stream, look up the music video of Folk Devils by Rooftop Revolutionaries. It's a good time. We'll see if YouTube gives me a strike over the song, and then I might have to, because even when someone gives you the permission, YouTube doesn't care if they give you permission. They freak the F out. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I got so much to cover today. Obviously, we're seeing the regime change ongoing against Iran. I'm going to talk more about that. I already talked about it some the other day, but we're going to get even deeper into it. Also, let's talk about some efforts to counter ICE, to counter these jackbooted Nazi thugs that are on our streets, running around trying to destroy every shred of societal community. That can't be right. Anyway, society that we have left. We're going to talk about some efforts to at least slow down their efforts to destroy a community, to destroy love and friendship and cooperation and all the things that make life valuable. We'll be talking about some efforts to at least, at minimum, slow them down. But a lot of great stuff I want to get into there, and then a little more on Venezuela. Hopefully, we'll also get to stuff on the EPA is now the anti-EPA. You gotta love the efforts to. I don't. I'm trying to. When you try and give too many equivocations and caveats, and they become equivocaveats, and you end up with equivocaveats stacked on top of other equivocaveats, and then that's when the stuttering really gets bad. Two things can be true. The EPA is now, and I'll get more into this in a bit, the EPA is now working to basically shred what the EPA was designed to kind of do. Like, literally, the EPA is now the anti-EPA. That is their goal. That is their mission. That is what they work long hours to do. This does not mean that the EPA under Biden or Obama or what have you was working like an awesome environmental protection agency. No, they were like a half-hearted, apathetic, let's kind of make a show like we care about whether the average American gets cancer from some company. It was like a theatrics to look like the government cared about your environmental protection. And so now even the theatrics are being shredded. In some ways, maybe this is good. Maybe people will realize just exactly what's going on with our government when the EPA is literally the anti-EPA. Maybe that creates some sort of awareness. I don't know. But, okay, I'm going to get into all that. But we're going to start off with a clip from Lindsey Graham. The administration and the friends of the administration, those giving him handies under the table, are now openly calling for like just killing presidents around the world. So this is Lindsey Graham openly on Fox News calling for basically assassinating the heads of state in Iran. And for those of you who need a reminder, Lindsey Graham, longtime Republican slime mold in Congress.
I don't care if they extract him, but I want him to be considered.
For those of you listening to the podcast, they're showing images of leaders in Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini and maybe others. But
I don't care if they extract him, but I want him to be considered. He's the modern day Hitler. He's a religious Nazi. He's a horrible person.
He's a modern day Hitler. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that quickly. He's the modern day Hitler, yet Iran not invading any other countries. Meanwhile, U.S. literally invading other countries, literally boots on the ground in other countries, literally committing genocide in Gaza, literally just kidnapped and imprisoned a head of state from Venezuela. But no, the country that's not invading anyone, that's the modern day Hitler. Got it. And every accusation is an admission. Just remember that.
It's time for him to go. The people want him to go. Trump has done what Reagan did. Reagan went to the Berlin Wall and said, tear this wall down. Donald Trump picked the people over the Ayatollah.
I love that he gives an example. Now, first of all, there's plenty to be said about the fact that what was Reagan really doing? Reagan just wanted to. Yes, it's not like I liked the way people were treated in East Berlin, but the real reason was that the U.S. and the capitalist bloc there wanted to stop any sort of spread or power of the Soviet Union. So that was at the heart of it. But that aside, Reagan was asking for a wall to be torn down that had literally ripped families in half, some on one side, some on the other. That's the equivalent of Donald Trump, assassinating Iran's general in his last term? Those are the same? Or trying to create a failed state in a country because we want our petrodollar to be strong? Yes, just like tearing down a wall. That's exactly right.
Donald Trump says the best way to make Iran great again is for the protesters to win and the regime to come down. How do you do that?
For those who listen to the podcast, for some odd reason, Lindsey Graham, I don't know if he's selling it on his website, really promoting this hat that says "Make Iran Great Again." I saw a clip of Donald Trump. Not even Donald Trump supports that hat. So I don't know why the fuck Lindsey Graham is just pushing this hat so hard. I don't like someone maybe find out if he's selling it on his website. Does he need $5 from each hat? Because Donald Trump talked about the hat and said, but it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I don't know if it's really good. Basically saying he doesn't even like the hat. So I have no idea why Lindsey Graham keeps pushing this stupid hat. That's what our country has become. When you're a waning empire, collapsing capitalist shit show, your politicians are just merch salesmen. That's all they are. They're, and it's not like I've never sold a mug. All right. I fucking sold a mug, but you're a congressman and you're trying to push hats on Fox News.
Whatever action we're going to take, Mr. President, needs to embolden the protesters and scare the hell out of the regime. If I were you, Mr. President, I would kill the leadership that are killing the people. You got to end this. If it ends well.
So that's the key moment there. Literally, we're out now at a place where our ruling psychopaths feel comfortable being on live television and just calling to murder heads of state. Like they know that there will be no ramifications. The moral bankruptcy of a certain percentage of Americans. I certainly don't want to say all. I mean, hell, everybody watching this is the opposite, right? But the moral bankruptcy of certain percentage of Americans is just like, yeah, there's murder. Absolutely. Murder whoever, everybody, doesn't matter. Just kill them, kill their families. Fine. And this is something that there's a lot of people have been pushing for, is just, you can just publicly now claim you want to murder a bunch of people. And that's what he's doing on Fox News. He wants to murder the president of Iran. Why not? Why would that be? Oh, it only violates every international law you could ever come up with. But outside of that, what's the problem?
Then peace breaks out. All the state-sponsored terrorism activity stops. Hezbollah, Hamas, they go away.
That's right. Anything that is even remotely stands up against Israel's ethno-state, settler, colonial genocide, that counts as terrorism. This is a morally bankrupt, morally inverted universe that Lindsey Graham's speaking to, of course. And he says peace breaks out. Peace breaks out. Yeah. And what about, and he says this would be Donald Trump standing with the Iranian people. What about all the Iranian people that are actually supporting their government right now? Because there are very large protests. I think I have an image here of one of them. Very large protests supporting Iran's government right now. And while I look that up, let me just say, I put out a Substack column today, free to read, reallycamp.substack.com, about the anti-Iran propaganda. But this is one image of just thousands, if not tens of thousands of people out at a pro-Iran government rally in Iran. And this is in Tehran. And And none of this gets any mainstream media coverage. You can't find out about it on your mainstream media. They want you to believe that Iran is just on fire and every Iranian wants to just see their government collapsed. It's not true. They pushing the same propaganda in Venezuela right now, right? Oh, every Venezuelan wants to see their country collapse. Fucking not true. But, our media is such garbage that what's it matter if they only show the people who are protesting against the government? We can't ever show the other side. But speaking to all this, let's now hear from Professor Jeffrey Sachs, who I love playing clips of his. He's been doing great work, and he says a lot of similar things to the stuff I say on my Substack today, even though I found this video after I wrote my Substack, but we're all having the same thoughts about this anti-Iran propaganda. Anyway, here is Professor Jeffrey Sachs.
This is a well-known playbook. We're watching a regime change operation underway. The goal is to oust another government. This is absolutely war of a particular kind that the CIA and Mossad have used repeatedly over many decades. So the playbook is well known, and that is create chaos, bring people out onto the streets, provoke casualties, and then use that either to provoke internally a coup, or if that doesn't work, say that you're protecting the people and you intervene directly, which every hour or so Trump threatens to do right now, or declares that he's about to do right now. So this is watching before our eyes how a regime change operation works. I want to emphasize these are profoundly illegal and immoral operations. They claim that the U.S. should control who governs other countries. They result in mass loss of life, violence, destruction of economies, and prolonged instability, and often in war that continues for many, many years. And that war can cost the United States hundreds of billions or even trillions of dollars, as was the case in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Of course, he doesn't, and I don't mean of course, but he doesn't get into the why would the United States commit these wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, etc., that seem to cost us money, that seem to cost billions and trillions of dollars. Well, part of it is that we have war contractors that make a lot of money, even when we lose money. So that's a big factor. But the bigger factor is that it's all done in defense of the petrodollar. So, yeah, they may lose billions of dollars bombing another country, but if the dollar remains strong, then they've made a lot of money or kept a lot of money, as opposed to the petrodollar waning. But that part aside, everything else he's saying about this is a careful playbook. I go through a lot of the playbook on my Substack column today, and I would love for you to check it out, reallycamp.substack.com. But this is, when you see these protests, it doesn't mean there aren't any genuine protesters out there. Some of them are, but the violent ones are almost always trained, funded, sometimes even armed by the U.S. and Mossad. They are trained to go out there and often kill. They are the number that the New York Times gave is that there's been 3,000 deaths in Iran since the beginning of these protests. And the title of the New York Times from yesterday makes you think that it's the government that killed 3,000 people. Now, the government may have, I don't know how the numbers break down, but a lot of those deaths are a combination of people that the government's calling them terrorists, whatever you want to call them, armed vigilantes, have killed innocent, unarmed security guards in Iran. They kill government supporters. They burn buildings. They've been caught, and there's videos you can go watch online of them setting fires to mosques, hospitals, schools, and people die in these fires because people get caught in them. So those are some of the deaths there. And then you have the Iranian government that is then shooting back at these armed vigilantes and killing some of them. So once you take those numbers, many of the 3,000, and that number is likely exaggerated, but many of those thousands are a combination of these quote unquote terrorists and people they've killed. None of that really gets through in your mainstream media. They want you to believe that it's just the government running out and shooting people for holding up a sign that says, to quote The Simpsons, that's signs that say Ayatollah Assahola. And yeah, that's all it is. It's just people with signs that say Ayatollah Assahola, and then the Iranian government just shoots them. That's all that's going on. That's right. And if you believe that, then I've got a Donald Trump meme coin to sell you. But in fact, we know, and they've admitted it, that Mossad and the U.S. is on the ground in Iran, quote unquote, helping the protesters. Here is, this is from the Dissident. Here is the Israeli newspaper, Ma'ariv, has interviewed the former military intelligence directorate of Israel, the former head of the military intelligence in Israel, last name Heyman. And he said, quote, if the question is there zero operation right now on the ground in Iran? The answer is no, meaning no, there's not zero. So double negative, meaning yes, there's an operation. He says, because there is already an operation. There is currently a very significant influence operation by the U.S. On the ground in Iran. So that is from a very pro-Israel, pro-U.S. former head of intelligence in Israel. But on top of that, you have Mossad outwardly admitting, this is also in my Substack, outwardly admitting that they are on the ground in Iran. They tweeted it out in Farsi, in their Farsi language Twitter account. They said, now is the time to rise up. You know, I'm paraphrasing. And then they said, we'll be there with you on the ground. So Mossad admitting they're on the ground. Now, what do you think they're doing on the ground? Do you think they're just peaceful protest? Mossad, again, holding the sign, Ayatollah Assahola. Do you think that's what they're doing? Or do you think they might be doing something more? Which is it? All right. So, and here are some great quotes from Richard Nephew, who wrote in his book about U.S. sanctions on Iran that have gone on for decades, and the efforts. And what's interesting is in this book, he's bragging, he's boasting about the success that these sanctions have had. And here's some of his boasting. He says, the United States took its surgical sanctions approach a step further in 2013 with a carefully structured set of sanctions on Iran's automotive sector, denying Iran the ability to import manufacturing assistance but not spare parts for existing cars. Iranian manufacturing jobs and export revenue were the targets of these sanctions, undermining the Iranian government's attempt to find non-oil export sectors and ways of employing 500,000 Iranians. All the while, the U.S. expanded the ability of the U.S. and foreign companies to sell Iranians technology used for personal communication. So they expanded the ability for average Iranians to get, say, smartphones because they want to get their propaganda into Iranian hands. So them getting smartphones helps get U.S. propaganda into your average Iranian hand. Then he continues, with Iran's population technically able to purchase such goods, they're also talking about like high-end TVs, etc., and imports still flowing in, but with the exchange rate depriving most people of the practical benefit, meaning you're making them poor, the sanctions are successfully making Iranians average Iranian poor, but they are allowing in these, cool commodities, cool things like consumer goods, like televisions and back in the day of iPods and stuff like that. Maybe video game, maybe Xbox and shit like that. Whatever the consumer goods are, they're allowing those to get in, but a lot of people don't have the money to buy them. So then they get to see how things could be, and it pisses them off. This is to create inequality. So the rich in Iran are able to have those things. The poor and average people are not. And the U.S. views this as a big win. We've increased inequality. We've made people pissed off that they can't afford things. In Iran, for example, there were reports from 2012 and 2013, and then it goes outside of just consumer goods, that medicine and medical devices were unavailable, not because their trade was prohibitive, but rather because they cost too much for the average Iranian due to shortages and the depreciation of Iranian currency. Again, this is nephew bragging. The U.S. and its partners, through sanctions, directly contributed to the depreciation of the Iranian rial, the currency, and consequently in the creation of this problem. So he's bragging that you've got children dying of medical problems in Iran. Yay, we did it. Yay, we are killing children in Iran, and that is going to piss people off, and hopefully it'll cause regime change. This is the straight up psychopaths, right? There's no other definition. Straight up psychopaths. And this fits, of course, with, Madeleine Albright, the famous clip of her saying she's asked about killing 500,000 children, 500,000 children in Iraq. And she says, we think it's worth it. This fits with a clip I've played several times of Rex Tillerson, Trump's Secretary of State in his first term, also former head of Exxon. And Rex Tillerson was on stage with Condoleezza Rice. And he says that North Korean fishermen are washing up dead on the beaches of South Korea because they're fishing deep into the winter and they don't have enough fuel to get back. And why are they fishing deep into the winter? Because they're out of food. So he's saying they're out of food, they're out of fuel, but they're still going fishing because they're going to die and starve to death if they don't, and their families will. And he's bragging that U.S. sanctions did that. So yet again, you have one of these important American officials saying, we're killing innocent people. Yay, we did it. I mean, it is the most morally bankrupt, absolute ass clownery you could ever imagine, and they're bragging about it. This is what sociopaths do. Anyway, if you want an article on all of the anti-Iran propaganda, you can share it with people, so maybe you can wake them up out of the New York Times, CNN bullshit bubble. You can look up my my new Substack from today, realleecamp.substack.com. It's free to read. Essentially, everything I put up there is free to read, and I hope that you join up and throw me the cost of beer a month is what it'd be to join up. So I hope you throw me a beer a month. That's kind of the hope, but all of it is free to read. So if you don't have that beer a month for me, it's still up there for free to share. All right, let's keep going though. Now I want to get to let's see. Now I want to get to a little bit of an update on Venezuela and some more about Trump's lies about Venezuela. So I already played clips of how Trump immediately after kidnapping Maduro, but don't worry, for those of you who joined late, we're getting to efforts to stop ICE across America and more. But Trump, of course, met with the oil executives, 25 oil executives, within days of kidnapping Maduro, violating all kinds of every international law you could imagine, completely unhinged rogue state. This is what happens when you have a collapsing empire that's getting desperate. We can't actually compete with China. We can't compete with countries that are cooperating around the world. So we're invading, kidnapping, capturing, coupping, economic war as best we can, trying to force countries to bend to our will rather than actually have any kind of cooperation, because we're not winning. And we're lashing out like a caged child. I was going to say a caged tiger, but we really are children. So it's a caged child. Anyway, here is a quote. So they in this clip, they put together a clip from Fox News claiming, with Trump's claims about how we were going to steal the oil in Venezuela within the next 18 months, with CBS News kind of fact check about how it would take
in charge
years.
Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and the White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, adding that the U.S. is looking to help to pay for U.S. oil companies to rebuild Venezuela's.
Rebuild means steal, just so you know, in case you were wondering what rebuild means. Like, language is meaningless at this point. None of the terms actually mean what they pretend they mean.
Energy infrastructure, a project the president says could take less than 18 months.
Experts.
Okay, so that was the Fox News clip of Donald Trump says in 18 months we'll be able to steal more of the oil from Venezuela because we will have, quote unquote, built up their energy infrastructure. We will have built up the infrastructure to pillage Venezuela. Here is CBS's kind of fact check.
Experts point out modernizing Venezuela's oil
Modernizing also means stealing. Any of these words mean stealing. You say modernizing, facilitating, building up, stealing. It'd be like saying that you went into a bank and you shot a couple people, kidnapped a couple, and put all the bank's money into your bag, and you modernized the money in the bank. Or maybe you freed the money. You liberated the money in the bank. We got to liberate Venezuela's oil.
infrastructure would cost an estimated $183 billion and take 15 years.
So there's the fact check about what it would actually take to facilitate the theft of all this. Now, of course, why is Venezuela's oil infrastructure so far behind what they want it to be? Because the U.S. has done everything they can for 20 odd years to make sure Venezuela could not build up their oil infrastructure. The U.S. has done everything to stop Venezuela from having a larger oil infrastructure. Of course, then again, here's the thing. Here's the beautiful thing of the U.S. and their ongoing Cold War, although now very hot war against Venezuela, is in order to survive climate crisis, we need to keep as much oil in the ground as we can. And the U.S. has successfully forced the largest reserves in the world, which are Venezuelan, to keep most of it in the ground. Not because of climate crisis. They don't want to believe climate crisis is real. Instead, it's because they don't want it pumped outside the petrodollar.
Chevron is currently the only American-controlled company with operations in Venezuela.
Venezuela's oil infrastructure. Now, yesterday, the president met with executives from more than a dozen oil and gas companies at the White House to discuss his plans and push for their commitment.
And by the way, as far the latest update I've heard is they are not committing. Like, they are thieving bastards, but they're also worried that if they dump billions into Venezuela, infrastructure to steal the oil there, that they could lose those billions because maybe Venezuela ultimately gets strong enough to stop the U.S. from stealing it. So, the Exxon CEO said this to Donald Trump at the meeting. I played the clip the other day. And so now Trump is like, hates Exxon or whatever. Because if you tell now he's a combination of a dictator and a toddler, so I've been calling him the tater tot. If you tell tater tot to his face the reality of the situation, it makes him very upset. So he really does hate to hear truth. One more thing on Venezuela. This is ex-U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela, James Story, revealing he's talking positively about the couing of Venezuela. So it's not like he's a whistleblower. He's talking about how awesome it is that we're trying to coup Venezuela. But within that, he admits that they created Karina Machado and her platform, that they platformed her. This is an admission. She's the one, right, that the opposition leader in Venezuela that has very little support within Venezuela, but she was given the Nobel Peace Prize so that the Nobel Committee was trying to facilitate our couing of Venezuela. And this is the U.S. admitting that they basically created anything she does have, any support she does have.
And the other thing I'd say is the opposition, they know how to run and win elections. I mean, we work with them very closely. We were meeting in Panama, helping them create the.
He said the opposition knows how to run and win elections. They literally don't win any elections. And Juan Guaido never ran for president. When he was announced when the U.S. announced he was the president of Venezuela, 80% of Venezuelans had never heard of him. These are the people that he says are winning elections.
Military platform, getting Maria Corina back into the tent because she didn't really play with the interim government. And they won an election under the worst circumstances. So let's just say you got to get the C&E fixed. You got to have a process for the act.
Anyway, yeah, you might have heard it in there. He said, we platformed Maria Corina Machado.
Does at each of the polling stations to come out. You need to get some new judges. You have to reinvigorate that process.
He's like listing all of the ways we could coup Venezuela. He's like, well, if we just had them, rigging more elections, if we can maybe assassinate some judges in there and put in some of our people to rig that system. These people are just remarkably soulless. But they do, if you listen to them, they will admit what they're up to a lot of the time. They will admit, especially now, Trump's willing to admit, like 80% of his crimes. Not the pedophilia. He's a little quiet on that one. But they won't admit that one, but he'll admit a lot of his other crimes. Since I just mentioned his PDF files, let me cover this story real quick before we get to efforts to stop ICE around the country. We can put this under the category of how did I miss it? I know I was going to say add the segment more often. How did I miss that? We can put this in that category. But the reason this has an update of today or yesterday is because he was finally sentenced. I think people knew what the sentence was going to be, but I guess it just came down now. But this is Trump's former spiritual advisor. Now, I know saying Trump has any kind of spirituality is like hilarious. So there's that factor as well. But in his first term, this was his spiritual advisor, Robert Morris, head of a mega church, one of these truly exploitative, disgusting mega churches in Texas, one of the top 10 biggest churches in the country. He was convicted of pedophilia. Pedophilia, and he was convicted 3 months ago in a plea deal, agreed to a plea deal where he admitted that he had committed. I'm trying not to say the terms that will just get this video banned, but he admitted to PDF-iling a 12-year-old girl. She's now 25. Or older than 25, I think. Sorry, she's now 55. So she brought the charges against him, and he, in the plea deal, admitted to it. Had to plead guilty to it. The founder and pastor of one of the largest mega churches in the U.S., Robert Morris, has pleaded guilty to sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl in Oklahoma in the 1980s. And he pleaded guilty 3 months ago, but the sentence of 6 months just came down. 6 months. 6 months for, and these articles I see are not giving the details. Not that I necessarily am dying to read the details, but clearly it was extensive. It went on for years. It started when she was 12. I think of what they said, it went on for 4 years. She's now 55 and bringing these charges against him, and he has pleaded guilty. And this is Trump's spiritual advisor. Now, I will say that considering how near and dear to Donald Trump PDF filing is, I could see how that's like a spiritual thing for him, sexually assaulting underage girls. So it's possible that there's that spiritual connection right there between him and Robert Morris. So I don't want to undermine anybody's spirituality. All right. So if Donald Trump's kind of spiritual center is sexual assault of underage girls, then I don't want to minimize that. And it's possible he found a real connection with Robert Morris, this mega church pastor in that area. So you could see that they might have that connection. And I don't want to say that Trump's not spiritual in that way. Clearly, I think with Epstein, you can see he was spiritual in that way. But anyway, this is even outside of Epstein. This is outside of the Epstein stuff. Trump's spiritual advisor is a PDF file. This is not even the Epstein stuff. This is so insane. So yes, they just, I think, finally, whatever, put forward the 6-month charge, or maybe he just entered prison. I don't know. But anyway, this came down 3 months ago. So I'll put this in the how did I miss this category. Okay. Before I get to the next story real quick, I would love you guys to subscribe either for free or at the 1 beer a month level, either at realleecamp.substack.com or leecamp.net, which is my locals page. That's a locals community. You can post your own stuff there. You can watch these live streams with a group of people who are awesome, best people in the world. You can do all that stuff. You join up at leecamp.net. Or you can do patreon.com/leecamp if Patreon's more your thing. But like I said, I've been posting a lot of columns over at Substack. They are free to get there. The only thing that I've paywalled in a while, I think, is my new stand-up half hour. I filmed my half-hour set of new stand-up comedy in New York City, and that video, the full half hour, uncut, unedited, unadulterated, is now available it's on all three of those platforms, Substack, Locals, or Patreon. When you join up, you can enjoy a half hour of stand-up comedy from Brooklyn, New York. I really hope you will check it out and enjoy it. I've heard a lot of great things about it. People seem to really enjoy it. And, believe it or not, despite the fact that I did stand-up comedy and toured for 25 years, some people don't even know I do stand-up comedy. So I don't know if that says more about me or about them, but yes, you can enjoy that at realleecamp.substack.com or any of the others. And let's keep moving. And of course, when you do that, you also support independent media. You support my work, which is crazy suppressed. I'm one of the most suppressed voices in America. Definitely the most, if not one of the top 3 most suppressed comedians, censored comedians in America. No one's actually given me a case for any comedian in America that's more censored and suppressed than me. There's almost none that, once you eliminate people actively calling for race wars and stuff, there's very few that have had their YouTube banned and their TikTok banned and their Spotify podcast banned, and very few. Anyway, so you're supporting all of that when you join up at Substack. All right. Let's get to the efforts to stop ICE across the country. And there's a beautiful article about people I really admire. I'm impressed. We all play different roles in this ongoing battle to stop the rise of fascism, to stop the persecution of our beloved community members. We all play different roles, and the people highlighted in this article that is at the Minnesota Reformer are on the front lines. And of course, Minneapolis is where Renee Good was murdered recently. I, did a lot of coverage on that as well. But this is kind of detailing their day-to-day efforts to even just slow down ICE. I mean, yes, in some cases they effectively stop them. I think the biggest thing to effectively stop an ICE officer is usually someone they're trying to capture or to black bag. It knows their rights. It's probably the number one thing. And I've shown before the thing you can print out online that just lists your rights. You put it in your car window or whatever, or on the window of your apartment, and it says, no, I'm not opening the door. No, I'm not speaking to you without a warrant from a judge. I mean, ICE essentially never has a warrant. Even if they wave a piece of paper and claim they're allowed to lie, and they lie all the time. So if they wave a piece of paper at you and say it's a warrant, there's no reason to believe them. And if you really think it might be, then you roll down your window a quarter, a centimeter, and you say, slip it through and I'll take a look at it. But you are supposed to have rights. You're not obligated to open your window and talk to them. They'll say, the first thing they'll say is roll down your window and talk to me. And they can sometimes use that as he invited me into his car or whatever. So you're not obligated. They can hear you, and you can hear them through the window with the window rolled up. You're not obligated to get out of the car. You're not obligated to talk to them. So you can say, I'm not getting in your way. Now, if you actively, if you were to actively try and stop them from doing something, if you were to, grab their legs or jump in front of them to try and stop them from moving forward, then at that point, they have all kinds of different legalities because you are disrupting their operations and they can then essentially do anything they want to you. But let me read some of this because it is these people are, it's amazing the work they're doing. But so they follow a few people that are in these kind of rapid response teams in Minneapolis. They go out and they follow ICE around, usually in cars. This quote says, the goal is to distract them, to occupy their time. O'Keefe, that's the name of one of them. O'Keefe says, the more time they're trying to get away from us in the cars, the less time they're spending searching for people to abduct. So basically what these folks do is just follow them around, and ICE officers who are, they're unhinged, childlike people with a badge, they often will spend a lot of their time just trying to lose these people, swerving in traffic, trying to get away from them. And that's wasted time for them. It's wasted time and wasted effort, which is the goal. The more time ICE is wasting on driving away from you, the less time they're able to black bag and kidnap people. To continue from the article, the pair quickly located and started following a white Ford Explorer they suspected belonged to ICE. The driver began weaving through suburban parking lots with Neubauer, that's the name of the other person, close behind, seemingly trying to confirm he was being followed. Quote, they do and will say anything to try and intimidate and scare people. One of their favorite lines is, this is your one and only warning. So this seems to be something that they're yelling at a lot of people who film them, is this is your one and only warning. A man with a black face covering and tactical vest, peeking through his flannel shirt, exited his car and approached the passenger door, gesturing for O'Keefe to roll down the window. And Neubauer said, no, thank you. He yelled, stop following us. This is your first warning. So they love these warning things because it doesn't actually mean anything. This is your first warning. Second, it doesn't mean anything, but they like to do it. The effort to disrupt ICE operations has only grown in the days after ICE agent Jonathan Ross murdered Renee Good in her car. Over the past year, immigrant rights groups have hosted Know Your Rights training. So these are happening pretty much in every city. I mean, definitely every big city. So you can find Know Your Rights trainings in your area. And at those trainings, they outline the laws governing ICE and the protocols observers should follow to avoid arrest. At these trainings, neighbors meet each other and plug into their local rapid response networks. Following cars, making noise, and filming them in their operations is legal. According to Tracy Roy of the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, physically blocking ICE agents from making an arrest is not legal. And as they point out, the goal for most of these groups is to not get arrested, because getting arrested often takes a lot of time and effort from the group. So the group now focuses on getting you out. It also can take up funds from the group if they pay to get you out. It also is just a personal cost of getting arrested, because the cops and ICE, if they arrest you, their goal is to just make it as hell as possible. So they'll probably put you in a cell with, without food, possibly without water for a long time, as long as they can hold you. And anyway, the goal is not to get arrested. The goal is just to be a nuisance to them. Neubauer said if they know that somebody is watching, they're significantly less likely to stop somebody, to black bag somebody. Often when they pull over and people hop on a whistle, start whistling or lean on their horn in the car, they'll just leave. So this is another key note, is that if you're in one of these ICE watches or you see ICE doing something, often they'll leave if you make a lot of noise, because they don't want to deal with it. They rather commit their fascism and their arrests and their illegal behavior. They want to commit it when people aren't watching. They would prefer, it doesn't mean they'll always do, avoid the camera, but they'd rather commit this shit when people aren't videotaping them, when no one's blowing a whistle and screaming that ICE is kidnapping someone. So often they'll leave, which is the goal. Another time on Friday morning's patrol, they looked for what they learned were the hallmarks of ICE vehicles: out-of-state license plate, tinted windows, 2 people in the car, usually male, almost always masked. An immediate giveaway that the vehicle belongs to federal agents is the drivers quickly realize they're being followed and then start driving erratically. Because your average person, if this isn't an ICE agent, your average person doesn't just assume they're being followed very quickly. Like, if your average person is being followed, they're kind of like, it would take them a long time to be like, I really think this guy's following me, because that's so weird. Whereas ICE, they know why they're being followed. So they think they're being followed rather quickly, and they start driving erratically, plowing through red lights and shit like that. Let's see. Early Friday morning, O'Keefe and Neubauer suspected a vehicle was ICE. When they started following it, it aggressively accelerated towards Neubauer's car when she was making a U-turn. Another vehicle they were following ran a red light. So those are some of the signs that it's an ICE vehicle. So then they stopped. They pulled up in front of, another time they pulled up in front of Neubauer's car in order to stop them from driving, and got out and said to them, if you keep following us, we'll have to pull you out and arrest you. Neubauer decided to keep following them. And what did they do? Because they had run her license plate, found out where she lived. They basically led her to her own house. And the only reason they would do that is to intimidate you. The goal is to say, we know where you live, which, yeah, I mean, if you're going to follow them in your own car, they're going to have your license plate. They're going to know essentially where you live rather quickly. But this is straight up, Nazi scare tactics. It's just like, we know where you live. We will harass you and scare you. This is not the behavior of a quote unquote law enforcement officer who's trying to do community good, right? If you're trying to do community good, you are not trying to scare the living shit out of people. That is not like, like if you clear your mind of what our law enforcement, quote unquote, I gotta stop. I don't know what our thugs, what our police thugs look like or act like, and you were to imagine another form of quote unquote law enforcement, some sort of community law enforcement where the actual patrols know the people in the community and talk to them and try and help them and are not trying to murder them or black bag them. If you had that kind of situation, then you wouldn't ever be in it. Like, they're not going to follow you to your home. They're not going to try and scare and intimidate you. This is just straight up Hitlerian. This is hilarious. That's my new term for when we're quickly following in the footsteps of Der Fuhrer. But it's also hilarious at the same time. It's Hitlerian is what this is. Hilarious. The convoy took them. Oh yeah, I did that straight to Neubauer's home. So Then a couple of days later, ICE escalated this. When they were following an ICE car, the agent stopped, got out, smashed the windows of the car, grabbed two of them, O'Keefe and Sigenza, dragged them out of the car. They were trying to videotape, but their phones were thrown from their hands. They were handcuffed and taken to the Whipple Federal Building. They were held for like 8 hours. I don't know that any charges were ever even brought against them. It was really just an intimidation tactic. Even when they do bring charges, they often know that the charges are not going to hold, but they just, the punishment is the process. The punishment is to get you in court dealing with this shit. And that's the goal. O'Keefe said the experience has actually strengthened her resolve, but also ratcheted up her fear. Quote, they don't realize this is coming from a deep place of love and empathy and care for my community. And that is a stronger feeling that I have in me than fear. If our love for our community, this is no longer a quote, by the way, if our love for our community is stronger than our fear, that's when we act, generally speaking. And for this person, O'Keefe, that's where they are right now. To continue from the article, everyone has different skills and risk tolerances, Neubauer said, so there's a role for everyone. The movement needs all kind of help, whistles and volunteers to distribute whistles, plate checkers, license plate checkers, and people to coordinate among different networks in various languages, food delivery for immigrants sheltering in place who are afraid to go out to the grocery stores. More people in more neighborhoods who are ready to jump into action when ICE shows up next door. And it's just, I wanted to go through this both it gives you some of the ways to slow down ICE, but it also just highlights that people are standing up, that people are working together, that people are fighting for community, that people are fighting against this fascism. I think it's also important to remind people that this fascism is not, this level of fascism in America is not new. It's just gotten worse. Over the past many years, long before Trump, our law enforcement was black bagging people. I mean, there was a black site prison in Chicago until like a few years ago, right? Or it's not still, is it still operative? I don't think it's still operative. I think it was finally revealed a few years ago that literally Chicago cops were just taking people to a black site to torture them because they knew if they took them to a black site, no lawyers or family would know where they were. That didn't start under Trump. So to pretend this happened just because Trump showed up is wrong. It's just accelerated now that Trump is taking any remaining gloves off. Another good article on some of these aspects is in Truth Out. It's a pretty beautiful article. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. The title is, "We Can Honor Renee Good's Life by Abolishing Death-Making Institutions." And that's a better term. That's, I've been hating this euphemism, law enforcement. I think death-making institutions is maybe a better one. But anyway, to read a little from this article, it makes perfect sense that our solidarity reads as a threat to the ruling class. And they are reading that right. We are attacking the fundamental principle of their design, which rests on the claim that the value of my life is inversely proportional to the life of whatever enemy they present. They want us to believe premature death making is a predetermined moral good, basically saying it's fine that Renee Good got killed, was killed by ICE because it's just ICE doing their job. So what are you complaining about? The article continues, but we refuse to believe that. Our well-being is bound together, and we know it. We feel it when we let ourselves feel fear and grief. We know in our whole bodies that they and she and he are me. We feel one another most in our daring hope. Dare to hope. In honor of those whose lives were stolen and as a promise to their children, to their parents, the reason it's plural, those whose lives were stolen, is because this author also highlights a couple of others, not just Renee Good, but a couple of others who were murdered by ICE. And of course, and this is on the upcoming episode of Unredacted Tonight, tomorrow night, I talk about the number of people that police kill in this country, not just ICE, but police in general. Yes, the number for last year is around 1,300, but it's actually double that because a large-scale Lancet Medical Journal study found that over half of all murders by police in the United States are not written down as murders by police. When the police strangle someone to death, they often, in fact, the majority of the time, over 55%, they often write down that the person died of asphyxiation. Nothing to do with the police. They were just trying to handcuff him and he just stopped breathing. I don't know what happened. And there is it's not like that's an occasional thing. And as pointed out in the upcoming episode of Unredacted, this was done with George Floyd. The initial statements on what happened to George Floyd said that he was likely on drugs, that he had a heart condition, all this bullshit. And it was only the fact that not the body cam, because the body cam didn't come out until way later. It was just people standing around with cell phones. And that video went viral and they could not claim that it was the drugs that killed him. We all could see the video and knew it was the knee on the throat that killed him. So literally every time a cop kills someone, they often will try to get away with, oh no, it was just, I had a heart condition. So take that 1,300 number and multiply it by 50, or add 55%. So the actual number is like 2,800 or something. Or, way more than we hear about. So yes, that's why this is plural. Anyway, in honor of those whose lives were stolen and as a promise to their children, to their parents, and to our own futures, we cannot let them convince us, them meaning, it's not perfectly written, them meaning the rich or the ruling elite. We cannot let them convince us that these systems can be quote unquote reformed. Right? You just need to tinker around the the sides, around the edges. If you just cut away chokeholds, if you just get rid of kneeling on the throat, then the whole system's fine. Like that kind of horseshit. These systems cannot be reformed because they are doing what they are designed to do, meaning the systems are doing what they are designed to do. We are supposed to feel fear and disgust at those whom Donald Trump deems garbage people. That's a quote of his, by the way. If you are the garbage people, you are supposed to slip quietly away and certainly not protest. We are supposed to accept, even begrudgingly, that incarceration, deportation, marginalization, and paywalls to basic needs are necessary. We are asked to ignore the obvious and inescapable fact of our shared humanity, to refuse care and deny grief. As Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz publicly decry the violence of ICE. So that seems like a positive, but the author says we should remember that they have opposed any actual policy changes that defund the police. They called instead for reforms. This might result in temporary improvements for some, but largely reforms defend the expansion of systems, creating shinier cages that soon lose their luster. The collective has been central to campaigns to defund this collective that she's detailed called Black. This is one of the groups fighting against ICE called Black Visions in Minnesota. It's been central to campaigns to defund the police and the broader criminalization apparatus that includes ICE in the wake of George Floyd's 2020 murder. Detractors will claim that these campaigns failed, but I am seeing the fruit of their labor in the streets. The community education and collective demands that were developed then bring us to this powerful moment, not only in Minnesota, but in Illinois, New York, California, and more, where organizers are drawing from the abolitionist principles embodied in groups like Survived and Punished that have been fighting to free survivors of gender violence from the overlapping systems of immigration and criminal legal courts. Here's a quote from, sadly, this is the governor, this is the garbage governor of Illinois, Pritzker, Governor Pritzker. Quote, none of us are free unless all of us are free. I heard Governor Pritzker quoting Fannie Lou Hamer in response to ICE violence after he allocated nearly $1 billion to build new prisons in Illinois. They use the quotes that those of us fighting against them use. They use it while they spend $1 billion on new prisons in the largest prison state in the world, meaning the United States. As someone from Detention Watch Network has written in her book, Unbuild Walls, her name's Silky Shaw, Unbuild Walls, all of these systems of forcible family separation, incarceration, and capitalism rely on the same logic of dangerousness and scarcity. Our struggles are inseparable, and when we fail to work together, we fall together too. Many forget, I should do a segment on this, many forget that our prison system is also a system of family separation. Obviously, men in prison are ripped from their family, but women in prison, of course, are ripped from their family as well. And if they are put into prison when they're pregnant, some states, they're allowed to like raise their kid for a year or two or something. In some states, they're like the baby's ripped out of their arms within, weeks. It is absolutely family separation. Families are ripped apart with our prison system. That's not just immigration police. That's all of our absolutely inhumane, disgusting imprisonment system. Some call this a flashpoint, meaning Renee Good's murder. But I hope it's more like an earthquake in which tectonic plates are overcome by stress, slipping and releasing wave after wave of energy. We don't need this moment, ignited as it is by tragic deaths and record kidnappings, to fizzle into reforms that make minor improvements for a few while sucking even more lives under. The demands we are converging on now are visionary and urgent, and they are also necessary, practical, and winnable. Defund ICE. Well, ICE should be abolished. I mean, ICE didn't even exist until 2003. So ICE should absolutely be abolished. Defund ICE and police, to close detention centers and prisons, redirecting our resources toward housing, healthcare, childcare, schools, preventative care, giving, and restorative justice are urgent. And this is the moment we can move them over the line. We can win. Renee Nicole Good and Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, another death that she detailed, and so many more should be alive. We must defame, defund, and abolish these systems. We must empty all the cages, kick dirt over made-up borders, and fund the things that help us thrive, imagine, create, free us all. A beautiful article in Truth Out, not Truth Dig. Truth Dig's where I used to work, and they literally, for those who don't know the story, they literally shut down Truth Dig because they weren't able to get rid of me and Chris Hedges. Like, because they basically, the publisher said, get rid of Lee Camp, Chris Hedges, and I'll let Truth Dig continue. And Robert Scheer said no. So the publisher just shut down the whole outlet rather than have my and Chris Hedges' voice at Truth Dig. Now they if you go to Truth Dig now, they've recreated it and they still make money over my old posts. Basically, they just shut it down for like a year or two and then they restarted it without us there. And now they make money off of my old articles. How beautiful is that? And that it's like Twinkie. Remember when Twinkie shut down rather than give in to union demands, and then Twinkies were gone for like a year, and then they just sold the brand to something else and restarted it without a union? That's what they did. I'm Twinkie, man. I'm the fucking Twinkie. Please don't cut that out and meme that. Anyway, beautiful article over at Truth Out. Check it out if you get a chance. The whole thing. I only read parts of it. Let's do another story. I'm giving you a nice long episode today. Let's talk about how the EPA is now the anti-EPA. Oh my God. So it's so dystopian that you got to laugh so you don't cry. And listen, I know Emma Goldman or whoever, because some argue whether she actually said it, but Emma Goldman said a revolution without dancing is a revolution I don't want to be a part of. Mine is a revolution without laughter is a revolution I don't want to be a part of. So I'm going to fucking laugh at this shit. So the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is now, their goal is to dismantle the EPA. Like literally they're working long hours to dismantle the EPA. That is their goal. That is, they're like hiring more staff to make sure they can dismantle the EPA effectively. This says EPA plans more environmental deregulation in 2026. So it's important to note that the EPA has never done a great job because, as I've been saying for years, the U.S. government has been captured by corporate America for years, well before Trump, right? It's called inverted totalitarianism, the rule by the anonymous corporate state. That's gone on for years. So if you are ruled by the anonymous corporate state, are you going to allow an agency like the Environmental Protection Agency to come and just annihilate the ability of corporations to exploit the land, the water, the air, give people cancer while they're making Teflon pans, fucking pump shit into the air so that they can have the plastics so that you can inhale a bunch of microplastics. I eat so many microplastics. I've been shitting out whole toothbrushes, like whole rubber plastic toothbrushes. I don't know why the microplastics form in that shape, but yeah, whole ones coming out. Also, I like that we now know about microplastics because when I was growing up, I was eating macroplastics. I was eating pen tops at a rate of like 2 pen tops a week. So no one ever said you couldn't eat the pen tops. There was no discussion of it. And now they're talking about microplastics. Something that could have been brought to my attention yesterday. Anyway, so the EPA has been captured for a long time. Now, how has that manifested itself? It has meant that there are environmental protection regulations, laws, but they're not nearly enough. Like I might have covered it on here, I can't remember. There are 1,000 chemicals because the EPA hasn't added a new chemical for like 25 years or something, like a quarter of a century to their banned list. So there are 1,000 chemicals that are basically on the list of should be added to the banned category because they're dangerous to humanity. And EPA has never done it. EPA has never done anything about the literally thousands. Yes, thousands. There are something like 2,000 cities across America that have lead levels that are at a dangerous level in the water. They've never done anything about that. Even when Flint, Michigan, where the lead was so high that it was causing all kinds of horrifying shit in Flint, Michigan, the EPA didn't do anything about that for years. We had the leaked documents about East Palestine, Ohio, right? Where they burned off all those chemicals from that train accident, and everybody in East Palestine was getting nosebleeds and all kinds of horrifying stuff. And of course, cancers, but you aren't going to see that for years. We have the leaked emails of the EPA talking about how the president could announce that everyone in that town gets free healthcare because we actually have that ability on the books. And they're discussing this in their email chain that they didn't know would be leaked. And they agree that it's best not to get involved. So best not to give this whole town that's getting nosebleeds and headaches and likely getting cancer from this train accident. Let's not give them healthcare because then we'd have to get involved. So this has been the EPA prior to Trump. Now you have Trump in there who wants to gut what did exist from the EPA. Trump issued an executive order requiring federal agencies to eliminate 10 existing regulations for every new one implemented. Because certainly all those regulations didn't play any role, right? Saying that certain chemicals should be banned because they give us cancer, that's not a positive thing at all, right? EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced in March that the agency would review 31 regulatory actions for possible rollback. There's another one of those euphemisms again. Rollback is the new term for giving you cancer. With a focus on rescinding the endangerment finding that underlines many federal climate rules and delaying vehicle pollution regulations from the Joe Biden administration. In July, Zeldin announced that the EPA was working to repeal its 2009 endangerment finding, which says that greenhouse gas emissions endanger public health and welfare. And of course, that's true. I mean, you don't have to be very bright to understand how these emissions are affecting us and affecting our lives and our future. I just want to remind everyone, I don't know if they're bots or they're just people who've been drinking the water with the lead, drinking the lead heavy water. But whatever it is, whenever you see someone go, oh, you're falling for the climate hoax, you're falling for the climate crisis, just remember that person is going against 99.9% of 88,000 peer-reviewed scientific articles. Over 88,000. I'm sure it's much higher now. That stat is from a couple of years ago. 99.9% of all peer-reviewed scientific articles show that climate change is happening and that it's man-made and that we are fucked if we don't start behaving like we know that. Anyway, and people also love to say, oh, the climate hoax is from mainstream media. But guess what? Mainstream media has actually done a terrible job of covering climate crisis. 2 years ago, I remember the study by like Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, I think, showing that NBC and CNN and MSNBC had mentioned climate change a total of like 20 times across the entire year. But like on NBC's Meet the Press, one of the biggest political shows in the nation, it had been mentioned twice, and one of them was just Bernie Sanders mentioning it in the middle of a sentence. So it doesn't mean large segments about it. It means mentions. There is actually very little coverage compared to what we're facing, very little coverage of climate crisis in the mainstream media. Anyway, in addition to meeting strong objections from the scientific community, this article says the U.S. Department of Energy reports that Selden is using as a scientific justification in overturning the endangerment finding prompted a lawsuit filed by environmental advocacy groups. Stan Myberg, a former acting deputy EPA administrator, says that the attempted repeal of the endangerment finding during the first Trump administration was unsuccessful because the EPA couldn't make a strong science case for it. Who cares about science? Throw it out the window. Science doesn't matter anymore. No. All of us who have no scientific training, we should be the ones to decide this stuff. All of us who've literally never done that's the other the other idiot move by the people who want to say the climate hoax. They'll say, you're not a scientist. Well, yeah, but neither are you. Okay, so we're both not scientists. So why are you believing all this shit? Because I'm believing the scientists. The 99.9% of 88,000 peer-reviewed scientific studies and articles. That's what I'm believing. So believe the scientists, not the one, like you could find that 0.1%, like whoever it is that's paid by the oil lobby. So it's not finding one scientist and believing that guy, because that guy could be a lunatic. It's looking at the breadth of science. But as Candace Owens will say, science is fake and gay. So of course. The endangerment finding has also withstood multiple legal challenges since it was put in place in 2009. In addition to the proposal to rescind the endangerment finding, the EPA is prioritizing rolling back emission rules for cars and trucks, which also means that these big motor companies like Ford are spending billions of dollars to actually refit their factories to stop making EVs and go back to like fossil fuels. It is so remarkably idiotic and unhinged. It is like true de-evolution on a just unbelievable scale. But of course, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I love sounding like a broken record. This also can be, once you get down to, I like to get down to the actual like deeper levels of reality. You go a little deeper. What do we get at the core? Also goes back to the petrodollar. If all cars are running off of fossil fuels, that's good for the petrodollar. That's good for fossil fuel use. That's good for US dollars. But if cars, especially when it spreads around the world, all start running off of electricity, that's not good for fossil fuels, not good for the petrodollar, terrible for us. So let's just go backwards and kill all of humanity and kill our future. Why not? Okay, folks, I am going to wrap up here, but I have another live stream. I'll be on with Eleanor Goldfield Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Oh, no, wait, she's out of town, so it's just me. Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, and I hope you'll join me for that. Also, new episode of Unredacted tonight airs tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. I hope you'll check that out. And you can hear about all these things and not miss them. Like if you subscribe to my YouTube, which you should, but you probably won't hear about it because I'm suppressed. But the way you can sign up and actually hear about my shit, for the most part, is reallycamp.substack.com, because you will get an email about a lot of these things. All right. And also, if you want to throw me a beer, I love a good beer. Throw me the cost of a beer at reallycamp.substack.com. Hit subscribe, and it'll look like you're subscribing for free because you can do that. But then once you've subscribed for free, it'll ask you if you want to become a paying member. So that's the way to do it. All right. Keep fighting out there. I'll see you tomorrow for Unredacted and Friday for another live stream.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha ha.